Hello world. This is not going to be another video. OpenClaw is dead, something like that. I did use OpenClaw, but I replaced it with my own custom build agent from scratch. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of this agent, what it can do. I was able to build a Telegram agent. That's the only communication channel I'm using, and it can do everything OpenClaw did, and in my opinion, a little bit better. So let me kind of take you through this. So this is called the Coding CLI Claw or CC Claw. I like saying that, it's funny. And what it is, it's a multiple coding tools CLIs that act as the backend agent. Initially, I started with Cloud Code, and that was called CC, that the origin of the name, Cloud Code Claw. But then I decided to add more coding tools, including, as I mentioned, Claude, Gemini, Codex, and even Cusror. And this is fully controlled by Telegram. And I'll take you through the process of how I built this. It took over a month. So I've been playing with it a month. It's not as easy. So for example, here you can see the evolution of all the plans. So everything I do in Vibe coding starts with a plan. Actually, it starts with a spec. And then after the specs are finalized, we move into implementation plan. After the implementation plan is done, I usually kind of conduct reviews, code reviews, just to make sure everything is working and fine. And I've done several refactors based on this. So if someone says, oh, you can build an agent very easily, like takes you a few hours. I've seen some videos like that. Now, if you really want to build a serious agent with memory and evolution, and I'll show you everything I built, maybe that's the reason it kind of became a massive project. But I think it's pretty cool. And I never built an agent before, and I'm not a developer. So for me, that was just amazing experience to go through, and it's quite addictive. Every day I spent hours at night just tuning, optimizing, and adding, and of course testing and making sure it's stable, because there are tons of bugs still. That's why I'm not releasing it yet. Let me kind of show you a little bit of this agent. So this is, as mentioned, it's fully controlled from Telegram. Telegram is the main interface. I decided to go all in on Telegram. I'm not going to plan to support any other Discord, WhatsApp, whatever. I am going all in because Telegram is the way I controlled my OpenClaw. And by the way, here's my OpenClaw. It's still alive, but I stripped it from all its capability. And now essentially what it's doing is just scanning from news continuously every couple of hours for my newsroom. And when I say newsroom, so as mentioned, I have this Telegram channel. If you want to join, I'll be more than happy if you join me. And this is if you want to, join, this is the name of the channel. And this is if you want to scan with your phone, if you're watching on your computer. And you can see that I've been posting news here. And everything that you see here, all these news, they're essentially being curated by the agent. They are identified, they're scanned. We continuously scan multiple sources, including GitHub and Reddit and major media sites and some specific X accounts. And then I get a report with top stories that are aligned to my taste. And after that, we craft together the post. We have a standard. You can see, for example, we have my style is to start with a bold headline. And for easy reading, at least for me, because I build it for myself and hope others will enjoy, I'm separating the lines with spaces. And sometimes when it makes sense, I add why it matters element. This is more or less what it does. And I'll show you the workflow. It's pretty neat. This agent, before I jump in and show you the news. So as mentioned, this is based on backends. So if I'll click here on backend, you can switch between backends. Right now, I'm scoped into Codex. I can switch to Gemini, I could switch to Claude, and I could switch to Cusror. But because I'm using CLIs, there's a lot of nuances that I'm not going to go in here because I'm spawning and process and close it. So I'm using resume of a process, or switching between backends is not as simple, especially from the context element. So for example, if you'll see, I'll switch here to Gemini. It'll ask me, do you want to switch? And obviously, because I want to preserve the memory, I can switch to Gemini. And what we'll do, it will save the conversation so far. I could say, you know, that was like a silly conversation. I don't want you to save the information to the memory. And I could choose that one. And you can see that it's saved the context. And I show you how it summarizes. We have a special summarizer agent that in the backend that summarizes my conversation. And I can select the model. I could use the default, but let's say I want to use Gemini Pro and I'm going to use High. And also for Gemini, because I have multiple accounts, I have the ability to switch and rotate between accounts. And that's something that never worked for me on OpenClaw. So I can switch between accounts and my own personal API keys that I have. And I can say no rotation, only rotate across all of them. And it will rotate based on, for example, usage. If it gets a usage timed out, it will switch to another one. And I'm getting that a lot on my Pro accounts. I don't know what Google did to Gemini CLI. I'm not getting access to Pro 3.1 for some reason. I have no idea why. So most of my usage is based on my keys. So for example, let's say this key, and let's say hello to this model, see if it works, and say, hey, and you can see I get immediate response. This is coming from the backend just to show that everything is fine. The model will respond to me. I put it on high, so it'll take time, and it responded. And what you see in the bottom, because I'm debugging this, I need to know which model I am talking to. So for example, this is called model signature. So I can toggle it on and off, but I like to see which model I am talking to, what's the thinking level, and what is the account currently being used. Another element, for example, that I'm using is the verboseness of this response. So right now, you can do off, which basically it's going to be just chat. You're not going to see what it's doing in the background, what tools it's using. Again, because I am still developing and debugging this, I really want to see everything that is happening, and I'll show you that, how it looks like once you do that. Another element is permissions, right? Like you want to make sure that your agent is under control. And I'm taking my own risks, I understand that, but some people like to lock down their agent that it basically cannot do anything, but they still say, hey, I have an agent, it's locked down, it's in sandbox, it can't do anything, but I have an agent. I don't believe in that approach. And I know there are a lot of risks with letting your agent go YOLO. You only live once, but there are some options that you can enforce. You can say, I want to do safe, which is going to be only based on allowed tools, which are usually read-only search and things like that. I can do plan, which can only do read and analyze and propose a plan. Or you could do a gated, which I'm still working on, where every action that I can be gated. So let me kind of enable that. So I enabled it, and I can tell it, can you please create a file called test.txt under my downloads folder? So now it will try to do that. As you can see, this is an example of a gated action. So it will say, I won't do it, approve or reject. And I can, of course, say switch and go YOLO. And now it will process this. It took it a long time to think about this. That was interesting. And now you're probably going to see the agent doing its thing in this window. And it's going to think how to do that. And it shouldn't be that hard, Gemini. There we go. And here's an example of a verbose output where you can see the action is taken and it's going to go outside of the workspace where we work. And there we go. So it says it created a file. Let's see. And here it is. So that worked. Nice. And there is a lot more to this agent that I'm probably going to do a lot of videos to show you what it can do. But one way is to evolve the agent, right? We want an agent to continuously self-learn and evolve. So I have this ability where I can run this agent, and I have a cron job actually running every night where it looks at all the signals. It's looking for interactions, things I said, you did this right or you did this wrong, or issues that occurred between the interaction, and then it will generate. And I think I have this, if I'll go into my CC-Claw, this is where you can see a list of all the actions that it's recommended. So you can see here, it says you have some actions to review, evolution, and basically recommended to add or remove things from the identity files from skills files, from context files, just to continuously evolve. And I have the ability to apply or reject or skip, or even, I can do review. I don't know if it's going to work because it's timed out, but it will show what exactly is going to remove and what exactly is going to add. And I can also have a discussion. For example, I don't agree with this evolution suggestion, so I can have discussion and we can agree what will be the right approach. And yes, it takes time. I don't believe in automatic evolution, because what if the direction the AI is taking is not what I am interested in? So I like to be in control still. Not fully autonomous, but that's my route. The other is to optimize. So I have the ability to optimize the agents. So this is, again, something you can execute where I can audit the identity files. So there's source MD, identity MD, and user MD, where it's going to look for elements like contradicting information or information that should not reside in a specific file. For example, I have user information in the source MD, which is who the agent is and what is all about. So it will move and will identify it and suggest to move it into the user MD. The other one is if I want to optimize skills. For example, I feel skills that are just either not effective, or maybe they're too heavy on wording and consume a lot of tokens. So I can select skills and I can work with this process to optimize the skills. Speaking of skills, I have a skills system, so you can see all the skills that are available. Some of them are built in, and you can see some of them are across the agents, and some of them are specific for CC-Claw. And some of them are even built out of the box. For example, I have a skill called the Universal Skills Manager, which is designed to download, scan skills for security, risks, prompt injection, and also spread them across the system. This tool can do that. I also have the same concept from MCP. So let me kind of do that. So you can see I do have the ability to kind of look for the MCP in the system. And these are all the MCP that are available. So it kind of shows me what is available. The agent itself has an MCP, which is pretty unique. The backend uses it to search the memory. And by the way, I'll show you the memory system is, so here you can see all the things that were captured, a lot of them, right? So I'll just probably gonna have to blur. I don't know if it shows confidential information, but you can see I can browse through the memory, and that is more powerful when the agent is looking for something. So it will have episodic memory available. If I ask it, do you remember what we did a couple of weeks ago? And there is a decay element. It's very elaborate memory system. And you can say, remember, if I wanted to remember something, I can just use that / command and it will remember. As you can see, this is quite elaborate. There's a lot of things I haven't seen. Let me kind of show you the menu and you'll see what is available. So you can start a new chat. Oh, this is a big one because, for example, if I go here into OpenClaw and say, hey, what are the latest news? And I know there's a typo, but if I'll do, for example, status, that really annoyed me. I won't know what's going on until the agent turn is over and it's done. So for example, there was many cases where I didn't know if there was a problem or issue or challenge with OpenClaw. And you can see I'm still waiting for that. Where in my setup, for example, if I go here and I'll do status, it will go immediately to the back end. And you can see, even if the agent is having issues, is spawn, having some challenges, and I could get some good information of what I'm using. And you can see I'm using Gemini 3.1 and the key. I also have the ability, for example, to send commands to the backend directly, bypassing the agent. For example, I can do PWD, and there you can see I have a shell. So I have an immediate shell. I could technically restart the service using this shell, assuming it will recover. And that gives me really access to the backend. I could run shell commands through this platform. So it's another thing I kind of designed and wanted to work. And for example, if I go to Claude, I think I recovered from my, I'm not going to save the history. And I'm going to use Sonnet for this, and I'm going to use actually Medium. And for Claude, I could say, for example, say, hey, just make sure it works. I'm still out of usage. Oops. So yeah, that's with that. So let's go back into the agent. So I wanted to show you the news workflow. So let me take you through my news workflow. How do I get from a proposal for a URL to investigate? And how do I take this into a full-blown post that you see on my channel? Again, let's go, for example, over here. So let's see what ServiceNow says agentic will redefine work. Okay, that seems interesting. So let me take that. I'm going to copy. And this is my newsroom. So you can see my newsroom has multiple elements on the top. These are called forum topics in Telegram. So this is where all my news scans are being sent by the cron job. I have a cron job. Oh, by the way, let me show you. So if I'll go to jobs, you can see all my cron jobs will show up here. And you can see I have my news scanner, my daily channel status that shows me my YouTube information. I have GitHub that looks for my GitHub repos and tell me if I have PRs and issues that I need to take care of. And this is the reflection, the night reflection element. And there is also another cron that is not showing up here, and that's called the heartbeat, right? Where you can control what will happen. It's apparently off. I disabled it last night. Before I leave, let me just show you something also. So I have a voice option here. So I'll say on, and I'll say, let's go again, voice, and select the voice configuration. So I have a couple of voices options. I have integration with 11 Labs, or I could do, for example, Grok. I just added Grok voices when it came out. Or I could do native Mac OS, which is right now it's using the robotic voices of Samantha and Albert, I think its name. Yeah, Albert. But let's say select Grok and let's select Era. And I will say, hey, you're on YouTube and TikTok right now. Do you want to say a couple of words? So now I'm sending this to Sonnet. So Sonnet will receive it. It will formalize its response in text, send it to the Grok APIs, the voice APIs. There we go.
Dude, are you live right now? That's sick. Yeah, put me on. What do you want me to say? Give me the context. Is this a shout out, an intro, a demo moment? I'll make it land.
So that was a high level overview. There is so much. You can see all the commands I have here. Oh, yeah, this a big one. Agents. So I'm not going to show you right now. This is something for next, but this agent has the ability to spawn sub-agents. And there are two sub-agents it can spawn. One, its own, for example, is, Claude Code has the ability to spawn sub-agents. So we can do that, native spawning. But I also created an environment where this can spawn agents. For example, I can spawn one agent using Gemini Pro, and one agent using Codex 5.4, and one agent using Sonnet 4.6, and they can work on the same task and they can coordinate. So I mentioned earlier that I have a built-in MCP. The MCP has multiple tools. A few of them are to coordinate the agent. So it's very similar to how Claude agent teams work, where the agents, when they deploy agent teams, where they communicate, and also a shared task list where you can do that. One of the use cases is I can create a debate, or I also have the ability to create a council. The same concept, where I can select who the models will be part of the council, and I can send them a query, and they will deliberate and come back with the right answer. Again, there's so much in this platform I build over many hours, and God knows how many tokens. I exceeded and had to pay extra for a lot of tokens because they stopped in the middle of critical actions. But that's what I wanted to show you. I hope to have more information and updates on this project and when it'll become available. Everything on the chat, how to join my Telegram channel for the news will be in the description. And thank you again. This was a longer video, so If you stick around so far, thank you, and hopefully that was interesting, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers!
AI spotlight illuminating the future of AI.